Have you ever noticed that in movies, inside airplane cockpits, or during military operations, no one casually says, "Okay," or "Got it"? Instead, they respond with a
Roger.
sharp, confident word, "Roger." Sometimes
Roger
even,
that.
"Roger that." It sounds precise, professional, almost cinematic.
Roger that.
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 But why that word? Who is Roger, and how did his name become the universal signal for message received? If you've ever wondered why pilots, soldiers, ship captains, and even astronauts use this specific term instead of something simpler, you're about to uncover a small piece of history hiding inside everyday communication. And it goes much deeper than it seems. Let's explore this story right here on Ordinary Things, Deep History. To understand Roger, we need to go back to the late 19th and early 20th century, when radio communication was still new and unreliable. Signals were weak, static interference was constant, entire sentences could dissolve into noise. In that environment, long confirmations were risky. Saying something like, "I understand your transmission clearly," was inefficient because half of it might never be heard. Operators needed something short, sharp, and unmistakable. That's when the letter R became important. In Morse code and early telegraph systems, R stood for one simple meaning: received. It meant your message got through, no extra words, no ambiguity, just efficiency. But when radio shifted from Morse code signals to spoken voice, a new problem appeared. Over crackling speakers, simply saying the letter R wasn't reliable. It could sound like A, O, or I. In critical communication, that kind of confusion wasn't acceptable. So communicators developed phonetic alphabets, systems where each letter was assigned a distinct word to avoid mishearing. Today we use Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and so on. But before that standardized version, the word assigned to the letter R was not Romeo, it was Roger. So when someone said Roger, they were literally saying the phonetic word for the letter R. And R meant received. There was no mysterious person named Roger, just a practical solution to a technical problem. Then came World War II. Military communication became faster, more intense, and far more critical. Pilots in the air, naval ships at sea, ground forces coordinating under fire. Every second mattered. There was no time for long acknowledgments. Instead of saying, "I acknowledge your last transmission," they would simply say, "Roger." One word, clear, immediate.
Roger.
It became standard across Allied forces, and over time it grew beyond its literal meaning. It began to signal discipline, training, and professionalism. Saying "Roger" meant you were precise. You were following protocol. Because it was used so widely during the war, it didn't disappear afterward. It became embedded in aviation, maritime communication, and military culture. You might wonder why not just say "copy" or "understood." They may sound similar, but in professional communication, they aren't identical. Roger means "I received your message." It doesn't automatically mean you agree or will act on it. Copy comes from the idea of copying something down, suggesting the message was recorded. Understood implies both reception and comprehension. In high-stakes environments like combat or aviation, those distinctions matter. Precision prevents mistakes, and mistakes can have serious consequences. Then there's Roger that. Technically, it's redundant. It's like saying, "received that received." But language evolves socially, not strictly logically. Adding that adds emphasis. It sounds firmer, more confident. Movies and television amplified it even further. Once Hollywood embraced the phrase, "Roger that" became shorthand for competence. Detectives, astronauts, firefighters, and even sitcom characters began using it. The phrase moved from technical protocol into pop culture. There's also a psychological element. Compare "okay" to "Roger." Okay can feel casual, even uncertain. Roger feels decisive. It cuts through noise. In high-pressure situations, tone matters. A crisp "Roger" reassures the sender. "I heard you. We're aligned. We move forward." What's fascinating is how this single word traveled from Morse code to wartime radios, from cockpits to cinema screens, and finally into everyday slang. Today, people say "Roger that" at work or in text messages without realizing they're echoing more than a century of communication history. It's a linguistic fossil, a leftover from the early days of wireless technology that refused to disappear. Even after the phonetic alphabet officially changed and R became Romeo, the habit remained. So the next time you hear a pilot say "Roger," or your friend uses it jokingly, you'll know there's no mysterious Roger behind it. It's simply the spoken form of the letter R, carrying the meaning received, passed down through decades of necessity, war, innovation, and tradition. A tiny word born from static and survival that ended up sounding cooler than anyone expected. And that's the quiet beauty of language. Sometimes the smallest words carry the deepest history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through ordinary things, deep history. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next story hidden inside the ordinary.